Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Jillian, a public school teacher turned homeschooling stay-at-home mom. Today we're going to talk about the most frequently asked questions that I get when I tell people I'm homeschooling my kids, both from people who might be interested in homeschooling themselves and just people who are responding to the news that I'm homeschooling. So if you're a homeschooling mom, there's a good chance you've heard all of these. And if you're considering homeschooling, you might have these questions yourself. So I hope this is helpful. I hope it's encouraging. Grab a drink and let's get going. Question number one is by far for me the most frequent, and that is, what about socialization? I'm smiling because I'm assuming if you are a homeschool mama watching this, that you have gotten that question as many times as I have. Public school has been the norm for a minute now. I think it's hard for people to imagine if their kid is in public school and around many people the same age as them. Well, if I had my kid at home, like, what would we do? So I think this question comes from a well-meaning place. Here is like my answer to that question. Our kids are more social now than they were when they went to daycare. So the truth is, I think a lot of people have some type of misconception that when you're homeschooling, you're at home, you're doing school, you're doing like the home stuff, and that's it. And of course, like, yes, we're home. There are days where it's just us at home with our family. There's tons of opportunities where they're with kids similar ages to them, and they are learning how to play and interact and what's appropriate and all of that, which is great. The other piece, and this is where I feel like homeschool has an edge, they're also getting socialization with adults. When my kids come to the grocery store with me, they're practicing, how do we talk to the person that's checking us out? Or when we go to the library, if my son is looking for a certain book, I have him go ask the librarian to practice those skills of not like hiding behind me, not knowing how to talk to an adult. I just think it's cool because as a homeschooling family, my kids are totally social, like many times throughout the week with other kids, but they're also getting the skills of learning how to talk to adults in like very normal day-to-day situations, like running errands at stores, at libraries, at coffee shops, things like that. So if fear of a lack of socialization is holding you back from homeschooling, I just give you like the most encouragement. Do not let that hold you back. There is so many opportunities in day-to-day life for your kids to practice social skills. So I think they are going to be just fine. Question number two, what about younger siblings? So we are in our very early days of having kids and schooling kids. I have a 4-year-old son. We're in our second year of homeschool preschool. And then my daughter is 1.5. So she is not of schooling age yet, but she is obviously here with us all day. I know there's homeschooling families who have so many more kids than us, and they're the people that you should ask this question to. But my 2 cents, just being new and what I've learned as we've gone, you just plan for it and you just make it work. The great thing about homeschooling is I do not have to keep my daughter like entertained for 6 hours of homeschool instruction. For our family right now, since we're just in preschool, it's 45 minutes to an hour and a half a day of like sit down, we're doing preschool time. So I only have that amount of time that I have to really think about. Sometimes we'll use her nap. My daughter is an angel of a sleeper and she naps 3 hours every single day like clockwork. So I know that I can use half of her nap time to do homeschool, and we do choose to do that a lot of days. However, there are days where I need to work during her nap. Sometimes I want to use her nap time for other things. So on those days, I just plan ahead and I have something ready for her. So on the days where I do want to do homeschool, when she's there with us, anything that she can like make a mess with, truly she loves. So we have this little bag that we keep in our homeschool cart. It just has some water play things. So she has little water droppers, beakers, and then a bunch of these sponge pieces cut up, and we will just let her play in the water. So the homeschool curriculum that we use is plain preschool, which I can talk about later. We absolutely love it, but there's a lot of sensory hands-on activities. I mean, it's a play-based preschool curriculum. So because of that, my daughter can do a version of the activity and just kind of play with the materials we're using. So we just keep right along with us. Sometimes that means me being okay with messes. So if she's playing with water, I'm probably not going to be able to clean it up the second that it hits the floor. You know your kids better than anybody. If you plan and prep, it is absolutely doable to homeschool with younger kids. And honestly, I'm just counting on the fact that like if we can entertain a toddler while we do preschool homeschool for an hour, I'm confident that we will learn as we go. Question number 3 is, how do I make it work financially? This looks different from family to family. I have heard of families who come up with really creative solutions. For us, how we made it work, because my husband does work and I did teach, so we just had to decide together what number would be enough. Maybe it's you number crunching and deciding like, I still will need to work part-time and this is the number that I need to hit. So what can I do to get there? And then maybe make a deal with yourself. Like, if I can make this number inside income, I'm quitting my job and we're homeschooling the kids. I am not making the same as what I was making when I was teaching, but I also don't have the daycare costs. So I would just number crunch. If you're like, I really want to homeschool, I feel it in my heart, but the finances are the only thing holding us back, I would really encourage you to sit down, look at where your money's going now. Is there anything you can rework? Don't just assume that you can't make it work before you've done the number crunching. So the last question number 4, that I've gotten so frequently, which makes me really sad, is something like some version of, I can't teach them, or I just know I would not thrive as a teacher for my kids. Some version of that, of like, I am not good enough to homeschool my kids. So here's the deal. Everybody's different. And like I said, if you don't want to homeschool, then don't. I'm not trying to convince you to choose homeschool. I'm just saying, if you think that you are not good enough so you can't homeschool, that is not true. Some of the best homeschool advice that I have heard from other people is to not try to recreate public school at home. So don't compare yourself to your child's teacher. It's actually really hard for me because there's times where I tap into my public school teacher brain and I just realize like, no, like, I am his mom and I am teaching him. I am not trying to force him into this public school box. And so I would just really, really encourage you, don't compare yourself. Your homeschooling doesn't need to look like mine. It doesn't need to look like Sally's. It can look like what works best for you. Are there things that I feel like I've taken with me from the classroom? Absolutely, but that's going to be true for whatever you do as well. Whether you work outside of the home currently, or maybe you are a stay-at-home parent, but your kids, like your older kids, are in public school, whatever your situation is, you have what your kids need. You can be the best teacher for your kids because you know them better than anybody else, and you can absolutely learn as you go and figure it out. Maybe you start with a curriculum and you're like, this is not clicking with me, I don't like it. The beauty of homeschool is you can change. Like, you can change your mind, you can make your own choices. If you are not wanting to homeschool, or you're nervous to homeschool and you don't want to dive in because you don't think you would be the best teacher for your kids, you've got to get that thought long gone, because you absolutely are. And if you have taken care and been like the best mom, the best parent to your kids from ages 0 to like 5 when they would go to kindergarten, you're not automatically like second best to their teacher. You can absolutely still be the best teacher for them in the school ages. So I hope this was encouraging to you. I get these questions all the time. Let me know in the comments if you have heard these too, or what else you frequently hear as a homeschooling parent. It's so fun. And so I just encourage you to not let these fears stand in the way of what could be a super incredible homeschooling season for your family. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.